crap. So I've spent some time with these new Nixie switches, and I have some thoughts on them. In short, I like them, I think they're pretty decent, but are they worth all the hype that they're getting? Well, let's find out. Well, I don't have any OG Nixies on hand, so I won't be commenting on how similar they are, but I will be comparing them to regular MX Blacks, since the official name for the new Nixies are MX Black Clear Tops. And I'll give my thoughts on whether these are worth double the price. Now, one disclaimer I'll make before we begin is that the Nixies may be subject to batch variance, given the volume that Cherry operates at, so your mileage may vary and you may have a much better experience with them. Also, I recall hearing that some vendors will be selling a factory loop version, but I've heard various details about where the factory loop will be on the switch itself. For mine, I have some loop on the leaves and the stem legs, but otherwise the switch is dry. Now first, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. At the end of the day, these are Cherry switches, so yes, they are scratchy. They do seem to be less scratchy than the MX Blacks, with the grain of the scratch being noticeably smaller, but smooth is definitely not a word I would use to describe them. So diamond polish away if that's what you like. Now for me, I don't mind the scratch. Hot take, in my mind, scratchiness is a feature of Cherry switches that I don't want to get rid of with lube. I'll also be doing a video explaining why I use almost all my switches stock in the coming weeks, so put the subscribe button in the break-in machine down below if you want to hear more hot takes. Also, in my opinion, the super scratchy feeling mostly goes away when you're typing at speed. And overall, I think that these two do end up feeling pretty similar when typing. I'm also using the stock springs, which have an 80-gram bottom mount for both, with slightly different actuation forces. So in terms of typing feel, it's heavier than most other switches, but if you're a heavy typist like me, I think you get used to them fairly quickly, though I know a lot of people spring swap for a lighter spring. Now speaking of the springs, let's talk about something else that's notorious with MX Blacks, spring ping. Now, a lot of earlier reviewers mentioned that their switches had no spring ping, but all of the pre-release units had donut dip springs. However, for my production switches here, the springs are completely dry, and that leads to some spring ping. It's definitely much better than the MX Blacks on most of the switches, but some, they're pretty terrible. If you're not going to spring swap them, I recommend at least oiling them with GPL 105. Lastly, disappointingly, the Nixies have noticeable housing wobble, like the regular MX Blacks, so they may benefit from some switch films. Given the official name of Cherry MX Black Clear Tops, one difference I found was the top-out sounds of these switches, since the Nixies have a Milky top. To my ears, the Nixie top-out sounds a little bit more high-pitched and maybe thin, while the regular MX Blacks sound slightly deeper. The sound profile of the Nixies actually suit my personal preference more, so I suppose it's a pleasant surprise. It's much more apparent when you're comparing them side by side with the switches themselves, but you can hear it a little bit if you listen out for it when typing as well. Now here's a quick typing test showing that. So with all that being said, I don't think that these are bad switches at all, with a few incremental improvements over the MX Blacks. However, they definitely still require a lot of work to make them perfect. Also, the fact that they're double the price of regular MX Blacks at 60 cents a switch is not great, and I don't think they're super worth it. I understand that these are made using upgraded tooling, which of course adds to the cost, but I suppose it's a little bit disappointing, especially given how hyped they were. Although, then again, when the hell was this hobby about things being worth the price anyways? Regardless, I think if you're going to pick them up, it would help to temper your expectations a little bit. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the new Nixies. Am I completely wrong about them? Also, I did a longer typing test to hear how they sound with different keycaps, so click here if you want to see that. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time.